Humble Homes is a collaboration with the City of Tempe to create a feasibility study for a co-housing community of tiny homes. Our community partner, David Nakagawara, who is the Community Development Chief for the City of Tempe, contacted us to come up with a creative solution to fight the loss of low and middle-income housing in Tempe. This project would take place on a 0.67-acre plot of city-owned land located in central Tempe close to the ASU campus. With the goal of sustainability in mind, the project needed to provide a permanent solution that used the land efficiently. Other goals of the project were to find ways to create a small ecological footprint and instill a good sense of community and encourage sustainable living and building principles.
We also have a number of organizations, community members, and potential City of Tempe employees that have either already expressed an interest in our project or could potentially be involved once it gets to the fundraising or building level. Those who have already been involved are the City of Tempe, specifically our community partner and Tempe community developer David Nakagawara, Build Us Hope Foundation, the members of the community in which the tiny house neighborhood would be built, surrounding community members, the private owners of the adjacent neighborhood, and other similar tiny house neighborhoods popping up around the valley. Although we would be the first of our kind, it is important to inquire about previous tiny home co-housing communities, and we can reference not only Build Us Hope, but also the Shade House entered in the 2013 U.S. Solar Decathlon for inspiration regarding sustainability specific to the Southwest. In speaking to the neighborhood associate head, we've learned that the neighbors prefer to keep their cul-de-sac intact. However, we are open to the idea of the community in general. We also need to consider the average user's monthly budget, and we aim to keep the cost of building each tiny home below $40,000.
Because the environment is precious, we place a very high importance on the implementation of sustainable practices within our proposed design. Reusing building materials is a potential option due to the small nature of these tiny houses. Some feasible options include finding construction material at a salvage yard and reusing old tires and scrap wood for use in the community garden. This would be a solid example of green building, or structures that are environmentally responsible and resource efficient throughout a building's life cycle. This idea extends to the efficient use of energy, water, and other resources. Regarding water, we are planning on the utilization of a gray water system, which would reuse all wastewater generated in households from streams without fecal contamination. Sources of gray water include sinks, showers, baths, clothes washing machines, or dishwashers. As gray water contains fewer pathogens than domestic wastewater, it is generally safer to handle and easier to treat and reuse on-site for toilet flushing, landscape, or crop irrigation. To increase the amount of vegetation on the land, and in order to attempt to eliminate ambient noise along the back edges of the plot, we aim to implement agriscape and native plants. This includes citrus trees, fruit trees, and other edible landscape. Lastly, in order to minimize contributions to the carbon footprint, we plan on organizing a zip car system, as well as encouraging carless methods of transportation, such as bike riding or the light rail. We have the advantage of both a nice bicycle storage system and a close proximity to the light rail.
Looking at our first option, we can see that there are multiple features to this lot that enhance the space. With 11 parking spaces surrounding the lot and 11 total dwellings, we have a parking ratio of 1 per dwelling. Additionally, here you can see a bike parking structure similar to those being placed all around ASU's campus. The dwellings all surround a large community center that would feature a community kitchen for larger appliances too bulky for the individual houses, and communal eating/gathering space for hosting. There will also be more public use bathrooms for visiting guests and an entrance to the second level. The second level would consist of mainly a large multi-purpose room, which would be engineered in a manner that allows it to be transformed into multiple spaces that can be used for different uses. Primarily, our ideas consist of fitness areas with yoga space, small weights, mats, a meeting space for community meetings, and a teaching and learning space to allow classes for all types to be held. Similarly, a community garden is also one of the main features of the neighborhood, with an accompanying shed in the top right-hand corner of this particular space that would be mirrored after the Escalante garden as mentioned above. As we move to design number 2, you can see that we have all those same features, but Rita Lane has been connected with Cedar Street, and the dwellings, community center, and community garden have been rearranged to accommodate that. The number of dwellings has gone down from 11 to 9, and parking is now down to 10 spaces.
Zoning issues with our site designs. There are a couple of issues with zoning that need to be fixed before we can move forward and implement one of the designs. The location of our property is classified as R4, or multifamily residential area. This is currently causing us problems in the form of parking requirements as well as minimum lot size. Currently, the minimum requirements is 1.7 parking spaces per 1-bedroom unit and 2.2 parking spaces per 2-bedroom unit. This is a problem for us considering the size of available parking space is limited. For our current designs, we won't be able to meet these regulations. However, it's a good possibility that we can change the rule to just 1 space per unit and both of our site designs meet the requirements. The only other way for us to meet these parking space requirements is to remove tiny houses from the property, which is the last thing that we want to do. The other problem that we have is the minimum lot size. Currently, the minimum size is 1,740 square feet per unit. Most of our tiny house designs don't even come close to being that big, with all of them being under 1,000 square feet. There's a lot of extra space that we can use to build more tiny houses, but the minimum lot size is currently restricting us from adding more houses to the property. While the lot size is definitely a concern, and it would be nice to reduce the minimum size requirement to fit more homes, the parking lot requirement is the more important issue, as that can cause us to have to remove tiny houses should the city not approve of our 1 parking space per unit change.
In order to maintain a peaceful atmosphere, certain guidelines or living parameters must be established. This includes the creation of a community council in order to enforce and oversee community standards. The council will be regulated through the use of elections, petitions, and consideration of any objections from the community itself. Individual living spaces must be upkept to certain standards decided on by the community council, including the individual upkeep of the 5-foot perimeter around each unit. The community garden will naturally require the most guidelines for appropriate behavior. These include: there must not exist the growing of any illegal vegetation, no running, smoking, aggressive behavior, or individuals under the influence of drugs or alcohol allowed. Tools must be used responsibly and returned. Vegetation must not extend outside of each plot, and a renter may reserve the right to arrange an alternative user for their plot. Lastly, noise ordinances include no excessive noise after 11 p.m. or before 7 a.m. Infractions must be dealt with on a 1-by-1 basis or by a community council of residents.
We will be ending this semester with a presentation of our completed feasibility study to a work council for the City of Tempe Community Development Office. We feel that we have completed the goals of the project up to this point and are looking forward to hearing their feedback as well as their decision as to whether or not to continue the project to the building design phase. Thank you.